where's the sacrifice? He said what? He said, God will provide.
Yes.
And God provided. Now, at this time, you know, that is a fair question.
Yeah.
But that's not, okay, so man, and when we go to Leviticus and we see God's assignments or God's rules, God's laws regarding, okay, if you kill an ox or a goat or a lamb and you don't bring the blood, then you've shed blood. Okay, so but offering animals as a sacrifice is different than offering animals, than being able to eat animals.
And we know there are divisions within animals where there are, some animals eat meat. I mean, they're
Carnivores.
God constructed them in such a way that they would need
Yes.
that.
Yes.
And then it's also survival of the fittest. I don't see that. I see that as something that was put in place for the, so on, for animals. And if the earth got really bad, probably people were eating animals, even though God's people may not.
Yes. Okay.
So.
There's a lot.
Yeah.
And
But God would have made it okay for them to come out,
Yeah.
But Todd,
Still things to consider. Yes, sir.
I want to take the 20 seconds.
Okay.
What separates man from animals? Animals don't have a spirit.
Okay.
See, you look at First Thessalonians 5:23. There's three parts of us: body,
Yeah.
soul,
Yeah.
and spirit.
Okay.
And then the body. This is our vessel.
Mm-hmm.
The body dies. What happened to the soul and spirit? They return back to God.
Yes. Now, what John is saying here, the different parts, he's saying animals don't have a spirit.
That's right.
There's another reason that is going to be stated right here why animals and man are different. Okay, and we're going to cover that in just a minute. But is somebody else going to? Okay. But now, we're going to talk about blood. So, number 4, but you shall not eat flesh with its life, that is, its blood. Surely, for your lifeblood, I will demand a reckoning. From the hand of every beast, I will require it, and from the hand of man. From the hand of every man's brother, I will require the life of man. Okay. Let's go ahead and read 6 and 7. Whoever sheds man's blood, by man his blood shall be shed. For in the image of God he made man, that is why. For in the image of God he made man. And as for you, be fruitful and multiply, bring forth abundantly in the earth, and multiply in it.
And that's a change.
That's a change?
Yes, because when Cain killed Abel, he did not take his life.
Okay. All right. We're going to get to that in just a second here. Let's cover the blood. And I tell you, when it comes to the blood, and I'll just tell you what Ramone shared in his notes here. He says, that is why when I eat steak, I prefer to have it well done. Okay. So you understand what he's getting at there, right? Now, I won't say, when it comes to, I'm not sure that that's, the position we all need to take. And I say, you make that position for yourself. I really don't want to get into all that, the blood and everything. Because if we start talking about that, and we go to Leviticus, well, there's some rules there, there's some things. Anyway, when it comes to blood, we know that blood is sacred. And when it comes to preparing your food and all that, again, that may be a better discussion for another time. But for your life blood, I will demand a reckoning. Okay. Now, whoever sheds man's blood, by man his blood shall be shed, and Mary has shared with us that is not what happened with Cain, right? Good.
He just separated Cain.
He punished Cain, but now this is a different time.
Yeah, different time.
Now, this gives us basis, right? If somebody takes a man's life, what is a just punishment for that, according to the scriptures? Okay. What is justice, right? Okay. Yeah, well, I mean, but now we can get into a discussion about where the laws of this nation are and maybe other nations, and okay, but yes, sir.
Yeah, it's just, God has his nature of perfect justice.
Yes.
And he has his nature of perfect mercy.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see through the biblical story that these two are always kind of in a collision and a tension with each other.
Okay.
And so you've got, Cain, who there was this justice that he should die for that, but then there was this mercy, that was given there. So in that way you kind of look at this law, this commandment, more as like, an instruction more than a law. You see what I'm saying? And as a guidance, as a guideline,
Mm-hmm.
but not necessarily a hard and fast universal constant. All right.
Okay.
And so, and you have it again where Elijah, went to King Ahaz and said, God demands your life, for all these sins that you've committed. And he put on sackcloth and he put on ashes and he showed repentance, and God backed it up, right? And so, and that honestly gives me hope for my eternal salvation because I know what I deserve. And I plead to God's perfect mercy there in handling it,
Okay. So, yes, justice versus mercy. Now, again, Micah 6:8. We talked about this in a previous class, talking about what God's requirements are of man. And it says, I think it says, He has shown you, O man, what is good. And what does the Lord require of you? And there's three things. Act justly. Okay, so there's the just part. Act justly. In everything that we do, we should think about what is just. Consider fellow man. Consider everything. And here, even considering the animals. If you shed the blood of these animals and you didn't do it for the right reason, you have shed blood, is what he told his people back then. Okay, but anyway, act justly, love mercy. Love mercy. Do you have the opportunity to show mercy? And we've seen over and over where God was well within his rights to do something and act this way, but he showed mercy. And of course, we get the ultimate mercy that we have in Jesus Christ, right? Because we're not getting what we deserve. And walk humbly with your God. Okay, and that is what Enoch did. That is what Noah did. And that's how they were pleasing to God, right? Okay. Okay. Now, there's a big part on Noah and his sons here, and somebody was talking about drunkenness, and so I want to get to those scriptures, but I'm just going to read through this part. This is where God said in his ark, I will never destroy man and animal this way again, but he didn't yet say that to Noah, but he's going to do that here. Then God spoke to Noah and to his sons with him, saying, And as for me, behold, I establish my covenant with you and with your descendants after you, and with every living creature that is with you, the birds, the cattle, and every beast of the earth with you, all that go out of the ark, every beast of the earth. Thus I establish my covenant with you. Never again shall all flesh be cut off by the waters of the flood. Never again shall there be a flood to destroy the earth. And God said, This is the sign of the covenant which I make between me and you, and every living creature that is with you for perpetual generations. I set my rainbow in the cloud, and it shall be a sign of the covenant between me and the earth. It shall be when I bring a cloud over the earth that the rainbow shall be seen in the cloud, and I will remember my covenant which is between me and you and every living creature of all flesh. The waters shall never again become a flood to destroy all flesh. The rainbow shall be in the cloud, and I will look on it to remember the everlasting covenant between God and every living creature of all flesh that is on the earth. And God said to Noah, This is the sign of the covenant which I have established between me and all flesh that is on the earth. Okay. We've covered a lot of that already. So what I'm going to do is, because for the sake of time, we're going to move right into the next part. Now the sons of Noah who went out of the ark were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And Ham was the father of Canaan. So in this scriptural writing here, he's already identifying, he's specifically stating Canaan is from the line of Ham. And that might be a little bit foreshadowing. And Noah began to be a farmer, and he planted a vineyard. Then he drank of the wine, and was drunk, and became uncovered in his tent. Okay. Now, for wine, for grapes to bear fruit, the scriptures here, or the commentary on the scriptures in the Bible say, it takes at least 2 years, I guess, for a grapevine to bear fruit. So we know that when he planted this vine, it was at least 2 years after that, just to put some kind of a timeline on that. It puts a timeline on it, but then again it doesn't, because we really don't know how long that had been. But anyway, now, and Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father and told his 2 brothers outside. Okay. But Shem and Japheth took a garment, laid it on both their shoulders, and went backward and covered the nakedness of their father. Their faces were turned away, and they did not see their father's nakedness. Okay, so when Adam and Eve were cast out of the garden, they ate of the tree that God said not to eat. Their eyes were opened, and they had the knowledge of good and evil, right? After that time, they recognized that they were naked, and they hid themselves. So there is this correlation between nakedness and shame. So now, we want to talk about nakedness here, and what goes on in the world today. We get into a huge discussion, so we're not going to do that. But in this case, there was, and I know Brother Dan has already mentioned the drunkenness, and some other people, very strong opinions about Noah becoming drunk. But my focus here, really, I want to focus is on what Ham did. Now, when it comes to drunkenness leads to something. I'm just going to share a couple of thoughts with you here. I don't really have that, my position on what Noah did is not as strong as most brothers and sisters. And we can debate this if you want. Not here in class. But as far as the drunkenness goes, I think about such verses as, it's not what goes in a man that makes him unclean, but what comes out of a man. Those kinds of verses. Not saying it's okay to go out and get drunk. Just let it be known, I did not say that. But what he did, this offense, this shame that Ham brought on Noah, that was not necessary, right? What did he do? He reported it, right? What do we call that?
He gossiped about his daddy.
What did the scriptures say about? Yes, sir.
I was going to say, I've heard this story from different Bible commentators, like PhDs and whatever, and they often say that the nakedness of his father actually relates to his mother, like seeing the mother naked, or maybe even interacting with the mother, was the sin here. The nakedness of the father is actually the mother, and maybe that's why Canaan keeps coming up. He's the father of Canaan, So Canaan may be from this bad relationship that took place. This is why the offense is so great.
Okay. All right. Well, while that is possible, there's not a lot here to support that. Now, that is one way of looking at it. That might be true. I don't know.
My study Bible says the same thing. It needs the incest. And
Okay. So the nakedness, but there's also, so for me, I was just thinking, well, if God had, or if Noah had cursed Ham, that would have been all of Ham's offspring, right? So by cursing Canaan, he didn't curse all of Ham's offspring. So anyway, there's a lot to think on that, but the main thing I want to go over before we leave is the shame that Ham brought on his father and how it dishonored his father and how it was unnecessary and how it brought anger. And this is what can we learn? You know, somebody has brought out gossip. It just seems like if we have information about somebody and we know people would want to hear it because it's juicy, right? There's a temptation to do that. And, you know, even as knowledgeable brothers and sisters, I know that happens. And that is something that is so divisive. And here we learn this early in the scriptures, do not do that. Do not bring shame, unnecessary shame to your brothers and sisters. Do not paint them in a bad light. When you're talking about your brothers and sisters, we do not need to do that. I'm saying that to you too. Sorry. But anyway, yes, sir.
Growing up in the story, I keep wondering what business did the sons have in their father's tent. And so I wonder if all of them are violating a privacy element. You know, growing up, you don't go in your parents' room unless they say come in. And so I'm wondering if there's some type of reference to
Maybe they're not even in the right place.
right.
Well, when it says tent, you know, I'm not used to tent living. I don't know what tent living is like. I don't know what their tents were like. Was this tent a community tent that had separate rooms in it? Was he naked on the public side or on the private side? You know, I don't know what all those are. But that's something worth thinking about. You know, also privacy and respect. The scriptures also tell us, show proper respect to everyone, right? Certainly observe the boundaries.
I guess the commentary that I read recently was, because we just actually did this for BBS at another church, but it was it was the idea that if it was an accident and he covered his father and left, it would have been done, and it probably wouldn't have been a problem, right? But it's the fact that he walked out and told everybody, and they had to come in and do it, you know?
Right, they did that, yeah. And his father was much more generous and happy about the way his other two sons behaved about the incident. Okay, well, that is all I have. Where is the prayer list?
Right here.
Okay.